Yep, it's Doom. You could say it's not the first 3D shooter, first-person shooter as it nowadays calls, but it is one of the first and one of the most important and perhaps the most important of them. So let's just get right going to the first episode of Doom. With the regular maximum difficulty of ultra violence. There's even harder Nightmare, and I already accidentally demonstrated one nice feature of Doom, which is to say enemy infighting. That means that enemies may start to kill each other if they are positioned correctly. Friendly fire basically usually is only conditional, as in to say specific kind of enemies are only immune to their own kind of fire, except some enemies do not have that kind of immunity. Those enemies should hit scan weapons like shotguns or guns. But yeah, Doom! It's over 25 years old, it's loud, it's violent, it's brutal, it's a classic. And it's insanely fun, and it's also you could say, completely different from... it came to existence with completely different idea than usually, because in that age, well, there wasn't internet, but there was already media and demo scenes, and Doom made use of that. Although its predecessor, Wolfenstein 3D, also made by id Software, also had made use of that, you could say, quite unique form of publishing or releasing games, and made and was quite big success. So of course they would eventually go to redo it again. Oh yeah, and from that came Doom, and it also was initially released with a episodic base, with the shareware version being the first episode, Knee Deep in the Dead, which you can say is quite much exactly what you would expect from 3D shooter nowadays. Except not completely. Doom is fast. Doom is fast-paced. Doom is loud. Doom is crazy. And Doom was completely new, unseen level of craziness and fun when it showed up. Which is of course one big, and it also was immensely moddable. So, getting to the second stage. Yeah. Only one secret found, but I'm not doing anything. Although I am sure, and that was the first level. I think the fastest speedrunners could go through that stage in about 5 seconds, using specific kinds of things in Doom's coding, like strafe running. And of course, all those things I've been shooting down with and which have made very satisfactory scream when they die, are just regular zombie man soldiers. They're that kind of mooks that you mow down in huge numbers. Well, that was an And of course, there's environmental hazards called exploding barrels. And this first stage just introduced the basic mechanics. Three basic mook henchmen you're gonna kill, which is to say pistol shooting zombie men, shotgun shooting sergeant zombie men, and then of course the brown imps which shoot fireballs. And this one, of course, gave you a completely new weapon, the minigun, in immensely satisfying piece to use. Although it's also quite loud, but then again, Doom is loud game. It's very... And this gun... And I could go forward and just run straight to the level in just a few seconds, but that's not gonna happen. Doom actually encourages you to do some exploration because, well, there's no recovering health or no recovering ammo. So if you run out of juice out of your weapons, you're in trouble. Trouble in level up, you might not even get through the game anymore. And because, well, every stage also means that you have to you carry your ammo to the next, and if you do not make use of that interesting little detail, well, you have to just start with a default pistol, which in some stages means that you're not gonna get through it, seeing that how many enemies. And of course, Doom is blinded because I just found the special melee weapon, the chainsaw, and it even gave me an instruction. Yeah, chainsaw is quite an iconic weapon of Doom. Not so much because of what it does. It's just a better melee attack, even though it's very good melee attack in specific contexts. But it's still basically, but the fact that you're using a chainsaw to mow down zombified humans and demons tells that this game has an attitude. That kind of attitude which means that it doesn't matter what's gonna happen, it's gonna be... There's not gonna be much of, let's say, niceties in this game. Which is exactly quite great game to have. Oh yeah, but the basic... I already got quite much the basic weaponry. There's the emergency melee fists, which is quite useless. Pistol, which is also quite useless, even though it does have use, because it's a projectile attack, it shoots. The shotgun, more or less, that weapon which, unlike its usual appearances in 3D shooters, is not completely useless at full range. It is most powerful at close range, but it's not completely useless. Yeah. And of course, and then there's the chain, and of course, and in these stages, despite them being basically just and these things, Pink and the Ghostly thing, they are the 4 different kind of enemy you're gonna face in this game. And this level also has one very immensely big secret. This one, Doom actually was quite you could say well, not all games nowadays follow this kind of level-based progression as Doom did, because, well, every stage is a separate stage. There's level 1 is level 1. And if you do level 1, it doesn't matter much except that for the ammo and health that you had in level 1 when it ended, well, you're gonna keep that to the level 2, but that's all there is about it. Anything more complex than that. But, of course, once again I opened a big corridor. Because there's and at this Ultra Wireless difficulty, there's so much of these soldiers that you practically never run out of shotgun. And, well, Doom also in its level design, I really don't know, could you call this game actually fully 3D or 2.5D, seeing that there is very little of actually 3-dimensional movement in this game, only height differences in stages. But I'm doing these little maneuvers around because that leap opens up a secret passage. And of course, and Doom also makes use of various levels of lighting in its stage, but these are not actually, you could say, real lighting in a sense that they are more like specific kind of light textures or stages set up on the map, not actual light sources themselves. it's not so common. Yeah, that's the fun part. Because, well, the chain gun eats it thoroughly, and the rocket launcher. Now I have all the basic weapons of Doom. I have, which is of course this is the shareware version of Doom, not the full version of Doom, which added 2 new weapons, of which another one is very known to be, I'd say, one of the powerful weapon, perhaps the most powerful weapon of Doom. Yep. Now I don't even need to go through the all level because I'm going through the secret exit to find secret stage. Yeah. Although in this first Doom they really didn't make much use of the secret stage thing. It's just a nice little secret tidbit that you can find, and a bit more challenging than what you would get at the next stage, but its meaning is practically none. But the origin itself were very creative and cunning making, and you could say as the fact that they released this first as a shareware and then with a full-fledged game or compilation of episodes called Ultimate Doom makes this quite makes it quite. You could say it's something of a modern day version that if you would, and also one thing which Doom made embraced very well, right when the beginning was game mods. People were able to add and change sound effects, change gun sprites, change enemy sprites, and basically design their own levels within the game engine, which reportedly is quite strict and you would say limited in the sense that what it actually can do. But of course, people being people, they managed to play in the game mod version. Game mods managed to do very impressive feats of design, or something that even the most likely the original designers of Doom did not know that could be done. With, of course, sufficient amount of expertise somebody has knowledge about how it works, and the fact that Doom has been ported over 25 years ago to completely new platform, and it's not even the first port, because well, my personally first version Doom I played was the Doom on PlayStation 1, which was regarded as one of the finest releases of Doom, because well, it had certain limitations that original PC versions of Doom did not have. It still had a very, you could say, vast level design, or better say, very skilled level design in things that it followed, and it also had completely unique levels all by itself. So it was not a bad game at all. It's not bad game and bad port at all. Even though, well, yeah, doesn't matter. Doom is much more about essence than actually that this level is not completely correct. But I think nowadays these ports tend to just follow the basic plan of original Doom, which is because well they can. Even a bloody smartphone nowadays can eat Doom for lunch. But the fact that Doom is still being ported and played and loved today tells about the sheer solidity of its design and build. That's at least how I see it. Because well, it has it establishes a genre. It didn't come out of nowhere. the genre was existed already, but there's the prototype which had succeeded and shown that this can be done. Proof of concept, is the fine word, had already been appeared in Wolfenstein 3D, and the fact that shareware could be used as a it would be possible to get profitable games with use of shareware systems. Because, well, if game was good, word of mouth might eventually make it so that people wanna buy it. Not just the original, usually slightly stripped down first level or demo. It's something like the Telltale games made these episodic adventure game series like Tales from Borderlands, Sam and Max, which were something like five point-and-click adventure games, usually with some flexible choices. But if it were a shareware system, it would be something like the first episode would be free, it would be the shareware, and if you would like it, then you would buy the full version, which would have then the everything other things, other episodes in it. And although nowadays I think the technology would be something that you could download the game just easily from whatever online store you are buying it from, like Steam or PlayStation Store. And then once that would be done, you could then buy it with some sort of activation authorization that would allow you to play the rest of the game. I think that's not currently the technical method of doing that kind of things. Oh yeah, secret stage. Not particularly fancy, but effective. Yeah, half of secrets. Secrets usually don't mean much because you can just usually quite much run through the game. Oh, but and I also haven't spoken about the basic plot of the game, which is extremely simplistic. They do experiments on Mars, something goes badly wrong, a rescue team consisting of green armored dudes like that one over there is sent, they die, Doom guy, as much as, well, the guy with that grinning face notices in a hangar that he's alone, he doesn't know how to pilot the plane out of there, so his only chance is to go, and it's actually on futuristic research station in Phobos that these stages happen. And in the original one they didn't, because then later Doom has become much more known about its satanic imagery, demons and all that kind of things. They would not be yet. At this beginning it was more like a quite much of a generic space shooter. As much as we could say that it could be that they would be just a weird sort of alien monsters, nothing explicitly mentioned about them being demonic. So there's a little bit of a nice, you could say, distraction in storytelling of Doom. Yeah. But it really does not matter much. The stages are, well, they are not, you could say, in a sense, realistic locations at all. Although later Doom games have had much more, you could say, real feeling locations in the sense that there's all kinds of dining rooms and all that kind of places that might be and those brown things will almost become some sort of mascots of Doom in the sense that they seem to be something like basic form of Doom, the basic enemy. No, they are not as, you could say, as squishy as some other mascot enemies in games are, but they are still squishy enough that you can mow them down in big numbers. Oh yeah, and Doom of course does not find its difficulty from input level design puzzles or anything like that. Doom takes difficulty. They're very simple. You play easy levels, that means you're gonna have much less enemies. You play easier difficulty level, you have much less enemies to worry about. Higher difficulty level equals more enemies. No tougher enemies, no extra damage to enemies, unless I may be wrong about that one, but basically it just means that regular level of difficulty, or we say easiest level of difficulty, there might be one monster walking about, while in the harder difficulty level, there's 10, or hardest difficulty level. And of course, when you go to the nightmare difficulty level, then you're gonna notice something, that the enemies do respawn, although you get more ammo, because well, now you're gonna shoot them in such numbers that it's gonna become you're gonna need all kinds of talent of mayheming. And of course, level end is not with this big thing. 1/3 of the item. Although this stage starts to means that I'm gonna make a save, because well, I played through this game many times, including Ultima Violence, because that is the most fun level of difficulty of Doom. But even despite of that, and despite my experience in this, something still may go wrong. So I'm gonna make a save first. Wipe out all these things and then save. Takes a break. And yeah, Doom. Still this stage. But I must say that in this stage you could say that the game Doom is really starting to show what it is. That it starts to give some sort of little hints about its existence, because well, the previous stage already had military base had a small little pentagram used as a piece of level architecture. So it's that kind of details are nice. So those kind of little details are why something much bigger and important things happening, not just Doom Guy being absolutely futuristic space soldier that he is. Because well, Doom Guy is basically much more than a futuristic space soldier. He would eventually become much more, but at this phase he's just basically just a futuristic space soldier who is supposed to be masked from refusing to shoot at protesting civilians and attacking his commanding officer, because well, you can't in that kind of situation put a guy to a court martial for disobeying orders of war crimes. He was just transferred to completely. Ah, damn it! Yeah, rocket launcher. That weapon, which is. Yeah, I've been playing quite recklessly now. I have to tone down my reckless level of. Oh yeah. Going ahead, that when ambushes happen, which usually may managing to keep your distance and be moving is quite much the, you could say, the most important skill in Doom. Because although of course controlled use of getting very close to the skin so you can make better use of your firepower is also quite important talent to have. So it's a balancing thing. Do you get up in the skin when there's a quite big risk of you being shot to pieces, or do you just not get into skin and just stick far when you can usually maneuver better? But of course that means that you're gonna spend much more ammunition, and ammunition is not rechargeable. And but like even though there are several ammunition types in Doom. There's bullets, buckshots, rockets, and later there would also be the energy charge. Energy bullets, however you wanna call it. Yep. And I really find it that it's quite common method to adjust the game's difficulty with the enemy numbers or strength, but I find it quite annoying when it only means that the regular enemies like these, because something that which eat something like more or less 30 to 40 pistol shotgun eat something like 4 or 5 shotgun shells to their face before they die instead of the regular 1, maybe 2, depends on how your level of quality of your aim. I find it's quite annoying when the difficulties just with the fact that enemies now can walk through rocket launcher fire without any kind of and just shrug it off. And I find that kind of design to be quite annoying. Of course, in modern games with much more complex enemies, patterns, styles, and weaponry, it might be compulsory, but it's still annoying because it removes the basic dynamics of the starter. If the basic henchman is some sort of roid raging psychopath with a bicycle chain weapon and no shirt, it should not be able to endure damage which would destroy a tank. That's the, you could say, little bit of nitpickery I have to say about that design. And that room is dark to that. Gradually shifting lights. And also a nice detail is that the fact that gun shooting enemies flash when they shoot, giving you a big idea where they are. It's a nice detail. I think it may have something to do with how the. And in this room, lots of coverage and flashing lights means that invisible pinkies are very dangerous and very numerous. Yep, the game design of the early 90s well, video games had already established themselves as not necessarily yet as an art form, or not even necessarily as a way to tell stories, or with a particular kind of stories or method of telling stories. Because game usually can add much more interactivity to its stage. It can show things better than movie can. Oh yeah. Gaming visual medium, central processing. And stages are just they're big, and this one is, well, there's 2 really big stages in Doom. And of course, because the coding of the game of this game of Doom, in a sense, is quite primitive. Well, first I save, then I go rambling again, and I check also how much time I've spent. And going ahead, and I do admit I did a bit of cheating just to get to this limitation length. I did some empathy clearing of this of the battleground to be affected. Because well, there's lots of combat happening. I have limited amount of time available to get through all these things because there's still after this there was 2 more and one of them is and they're not that you could say nice, neither is this. So making use of save, break recording and all that kind of functional trickery, maybe, well, it can be completely it's not fancy, but it does the job. So let's just also try to avoid Doom avoiding combat is impossibility. You can't get through Doom without massive amount of firepower directed at enemies, but you can zip through the stages avoiding enemy encounters. We're getting to here then. As well, and this stage is, you could say, it's quite long. If you would want to try to explore it completely. Which I am not going to do. Mostly because there's already quite much of exploring to do, and the fact that it's on highest regular level of difficulty also means that it's gonna be quite loud and violent anyways, even with all the cleaning ups. And fun thing that because Doom having these so-called monster closets, I think that's the name for that kind of little technical trickery they do. That basically rooms that which open up, and once they open up, there's enemies in there, making sure that return trips to the places where you fight the enemies are not event free. Like in this case, I just blundered right straight through into one. Big demons themselves are great fun. Because well, they're ugly pink demons and you kill them with big numbers. That's fun. But the ghost version, invisible versions of them simply are not as fun. Of course, they are more difficult to not see and spot because, well, they're invisible. And that's the idea of being invisible, that you are more difficult to notice. But the fact that they're fighting them is just same as it is anywhere. There's anything else. There's nothing different fighting them as there is fighting some other enemy, some other pink demons as well. And I really don't know that do the enemies actually just remain wandering about once they've aggroed, or do they just basically wander around? Enemies follow a very, you could say, predictable pattern, but they don't need to be smart to be, you could say, sorry for being into the mic. Enemies don't need smarts to be dangerous, especially in this kind of Doom, because well, they can do damage. Damage accumulates. You don't have any regenerating health. There is no power up or anything like that which would give you that kind of thing. So there's that. Challenge remains. And especially on this of the violence level of difficulty. Being generous with your ammunition use. Is not a bad idea. It's actually a smart idea. And it's a quite small and you could say insignificant detail. But Doom Guy's expression does change depending on what you do. He might look beaten up, he might look scared, he might get mulched to pieces if he's shot, crushed by some moving wall or anything like that. There's all kinds of little that kind of details which make this game more fun, and of course it gives the Doom Guy a face, very generic space soldier military kind of face, nothing really remarkable in his appearance, which is why you could say that usually Doom Guy is wearing his armor and stuff, armor and gear. Because, well, he's basically not a character, he's not an important character per se. Or is that the actual word? But yeah, Doom Guy is not a important character. He's just they're basically just as a window of the game. And some of the more, you could say, important video game characters don't have much of a character of their own. They are, well, perhaps in my books one of the most important video game characters is explicitly said to be a mythical character and basically just a function in a game. Link of Legend of Zelda series. His name is Link because that's his exact function. Link player to Hyrule. Yep, once again, Central Prophecy. No secrets found, no worries. Computer station. And massive horde of enemies right from the get-go. Explosive barrels. Real fun. Once again, saving and maybe doing some going further cleanup before that happens. Yeah, that guy died. And did some cleanup. Mostly because, well, it would not be so, you could say, visually appealing just to see me run around and kill everything, because I need some I need to be able to do some analysis. That's my word. About the about sheer existence of Doom. That well it exists. That's the basic idea. But the fact that how much it when it did came out, and I will say as it did came out, it was quite obvious that it's a hit, and it was more or less an instant classic because of the word of mouth shareware release initially, and sheer modability, and of course the fact that it was originally released as shareware was but it certainly didn't do anything bad. It didn't do anything bad for it. Although it might have been, you know, before there really was much of these shareware or better say demo versions of the games. It was quite much almost about something like a guesswork. That would this game be good? Would you want to buy it? Even though there were magazines, and still are magazines, or at least nowadays there's websites and sometimes magazines as well. it was quite kind of, well, it was much more of a guesswork, and looking at the cover picture of the game, and just guessing how the Wii Smart Shareware made that a little bit less likely, because well, internet was then starting to exist. So that of course made it a big, yep, gibbing. That's a you could say fun little grisly detail that they added, that if you do enough big chunk of damage to enemies, they're gonna, instead of regular death animation, they're gonna explode into that kind of nice little mushy mess, which of course was one way of showing that when you shoot something with a rocket launcher, with the bazooka or rocket RPG, it's gonna be very effective. And there's also, instead of the regular death yell, there's this meaty mushy sound, which of course is very highly satisfying to hear, the liquidy splashy. But it's not all, it doesn't always happen, because there's a slight amount of randomization in damage you deal with your weapons, which means that even sometimes when you shoot with a rocket to a zombie soldiers, they don't become the nice lovely giblets, but they just scream and die, and it's just the initial blow or attack or whatever which kills them that counts, not any possible extra damage from being surrounded by several different exploding barrels. They don't count those extra barrels, only the first initial blast counts. But the explosive barrels already gave quite. And these raising platforms, lifts, however you wanna call it, they were also quite important part of the level design and trickery that the game designers, obviously the modders of this game, used to pull off all kinds of, tricks, and you could say, not necessarily you could say break the engine, but create massive amount, you could say, really good illusions of them doing something which the game engine really couldn't do, and it couldn't do, but they were able to circumvent those limitations with, well, by using the engine, or peculiarities of the trait of the engine. Look at the map. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, there's auto map for you, because well, the stages can be quite large, and doors also seem to have some sort of color coding as well, so make it a bit easier for you to navigate through all these stages. I mean, well, this is the second to last stage, and the more complex level design, having plenty of these monster closets opening up when you get through the milestones, and all that kind of nonsense. But really emphasizes that this is the most, you could say, regular challenge stage of the final stage, where you must conserve your resources, make best use of them, show that you know actually how to play the game. no, can't open that one. Go. Oh yeah, switch opened up. And still, and of course, opening up the switch. Exploding barrels are very useful things to make use in this game. And it's real nice that they also added these outside areas to this game. No secrets. But now this is completely different stage. So time to save again and check the progress. Well, something strange. The music has gone anomalous. There's nothing but this wall. So, to this little ominous chamber with nothing but barrels and demons. Which weren't all killed by the big blast, so this is very much foreshadowing about what's happening. Because this level is completely different. It's called Phobos Anomaly. It's the boss stage. And yeah, 3D shooter with a boss. Yeah, Doom broke them out as well. There's a big star. No, five angular star, also known as pentagrams. Pink demons, fire, flames and all that. Subtle hints that this is something completely different, which it is. But this far there's been only 4 kinds of little... well, it seems to be interesting that these early, you could say 3D first-person shooters had actually quite limited array of enemies, and it really hasn't really changed that. There really not that much need for a vast variety of enemies. But there's these glimmery walls and something 2 completely new monsters. These red bastards are known as Barons of Hell. They are a staple of Doom, and they are about as dangerous as you could be. And they are the first boss monsters of Doom. Look at how much they just shrug off damage. Something like a 4 to 5 rockets. Which are quite limited amount of ammunition you have, and of course, and those green goblins they shoot are dangerous. They got all the basic design of a Western demon, and with their death, walls fall, revealing this huge courtyard and rising stars. Yep. There's been hints that something different is going on. A dramatic rise of stairs. Because that's an ugly demon with a pentagram, so it's really hammers the home that demonic, satanic imagery in Doom. So let's just something which kills me. And that's the ending of Doom. Yep, the moon base. Yeah, this is the story as well. Yeah, it's not made to end like this. Shores of Hell. Yeah, and that's the advertisement. 2 more extra episodes to the basic Doom, Shores of Hell and Inferno. But this ends the quick playthrough of Doom. It's fun game, still fun game.